I have a secret to share. Let me tell you what happens when I see a gap on a CV. Most candidates assume the worst. They think that I'm immediately suspicious, or they think that the gap is a red flag that will end their chances before the interview even begins. They spend weeks agonizing over how to hide it, explain it away, or even make it disappear entirely. Here's the truth: a gap on your CV does not disqualify you. How you handle it, however, does. I have handled and hired candidates with 2 years gaps. I've passed over candidates with no gaps at all. Because what I'm really trying to access when I see the blank space on your timeline is not the gap itself. It is what it tells me about your self awareness, your honesty, and your ability to turn any experience into something meaningful. My name is Nigeria Kakapota. I'm a group head of people operations with 14 years of experience. I have reviewed thousands of CVs and I have hired thousands of candidates. I've been in the room when hiring decisions were made at all levels. And today I'm telling you exactly what goes through my mind when I see a gap and exactly what you need to do to turn that gap from a liability into a strength. Number one, understand what I'm actually looking for. When I see a gap on a CV, the first thing I do is not to judge it. However, I'm curious about it. I want to understand the story behind it. And that curiosity is actually your opportunity if you know how to use it. What I'm looking for when I ask about this gap is three things. First, honesty. Did this candidate tell me the truth about what happened, or are they trying to construct a version of events that sounds more palatable? I have a very sharp instinct for someone that's been evasive, and evasion raises far more questions than any gap could ever. Self-awareness. Does this candidate understand the impact the gap may have had on their skills and relevance? And have they done anything to address it? That tells me a great deal about how you would handle challenges inside the organization. Growth. Did anything happen during that period, intentional or not, that made this person better, wiser, or more capable, or even sometimes more human? Because growth does not only happen inside an office. Some of the most profound professional developments have happened when people stepped away from the office entirely. So before you panic about your gap, understand that the person reading it is not your enemy. I am not your enemies. They are curious about it, and curiosity is something that we can work with. Number two, stop hiding from it. Own it completely. This is the single most important thing I can tell you about employment gaps. Do not hide it, do not shrink from it, and do not construct elaborate excuses to draw attention away from it. Experienced HR professionals and hiring managers will notice if you do so. And so your attempt to conceal it will even create far more suspicion than the gap itself ever would. My advice is that you own it completely, confidently, and without apology. I personally have seen candidates walk into interviews and address their gaps directly, unprompted, in the first 5 minutes before we even ask. And for every single time, I have even more respect for those candidates because it told me critical things about who they are. One, it told me that they were self-aware to acknowledge reality. They were honest enough to lead with the truth, and they were confident enough to own their story without shame. That combination of self-awareness, honesty, and confidence is exactly what I'm looking for in a strong candidate. So your gap just became your opening statement. The way you frame it matters enormously. There is a world of difference between saying that I am unemployed for 18 months and saying I took 18 months to care for a family member, during which time I also completed an online certification in project management and stayed current with development in my industry. Both of these stories are true, but you see, one positions you as a passive victim of circumstance, while the other positions you as a person that was able to take ownership of every season of their life. So my advice is that you own your story, you shape your narrative, and you do not leave it for me to fill in those blanks. Because if I do, I will construct a story that may not serve you. Number three, prepare your answer until it becomes second nature to you. This is where most candidates fall apart. They know that their gap happened. They know they'll be asked about it, and they still walk into the interview without a clear, confident, and rehearsed answer. The results will be visible because they are discomfortable, they are stumbling, they are over explaining, they are apologizing, All this discomfort, not the gap itself, is the real reason why there's always concerns on my side of the table. Your answer about your gap should follow three things. It should be brief, it should be honest, and it should be forward facing. Brief because a long defensive explanation signals that you are anxious. So 2 to 3 sentences is enough. It should cover what happened, what you did during that period, and why you're ready and energized to return. This is your entire answer. Honest because consistency matters. So what you say in the interview must match what you have on your CV and what your references would confirm. Any inconsistencies, even if they are small, would destroy trust instantly, and you can come back from that. Forward facing because I am not hiring your past, I'm hiring your future. So the best answer to a gap question should end with energy and clarity about where you are going. Not where you have been, but show me that you are ready for where we are going and that the gap is behind you and that you have arrived at the moment with purpose and direction. Practice these answers out loud. Record yourself. Time it, refine it until it sounds completely natural. Because the candidate who answers the question with calm and confidence would always outperform the candidate who answers it with visible discomforts, regardless of the length of the gap. So practice it now. Number 4, use your gap as an evidence of character. This is the point most candidates never reach and is where the real opportunity lies. A gap, if it is handled with intelligence, confidence, it can actually reveal qualities that a conventional, unbroken career timeline never could. It would demonstrate resilience, and that's your ability to navigate difficulty and come back stronger. It can demonstrate adaptability, the ability to function outside of structure and still grow. It can demonstrate emotional maturity, the ability to make hard choices. This is whether it meant you prioritizing family, health, or personal development without losing sight of professional ambition. These are not small things. At the senior level, especially, these qualities are increasingly rare and increasingly valued. So organizations are not just hiring for technical capabilities alone. We're hiring character, and character is often the most clearly revealed, not in the moments of smooth, uninterrupted success, but in moments of disruption, difficulty, and recovery. So your gap may be the most honest and compelling thing on your CV. The question is whether you have the courage and the clarity to present it that way. I have seen candidates turn gaps caused by serious illness into powerful narratives about perspectives, priorities, and resilience. I have seen candidates turn gaps caused by redundancies into stories about reinvention and deliberate growth. I have seen candidates turn gaps caused by family responsibilities into evidence of emotional intelligence. Every gap has a story. Make sure that yours is told and not hidden. A gap in your employment history is not the end of your story, it is a chapter. And like every chapter, what matters is not just what happened, but what you did with it and how you were able to tell it. So be honest, be confident, be forward facing. Turn your gap into something you are not ashamed of, but into evidence of exactly the kind of person any organization should want on their team. You are not defined by the blank spaces on your CV. You are defined by what you bring into that room. Your skill, your character, your resilience, and your clarity of purpose. So walk into the interview knowing that. Own every part of your story and watch how the conventional conversation changes. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this with someone who is sitting at home right now, staring at the gap on their CV and wondering if their career is over. It is not over, it is just getting started. My name is Nigeria Kakapota, and I will see you in my next video.